How's it going, everybody? I hope you're all having a wonderful day. In today's build, we're making a kitchen knife organizer, but before we get into that, I wanted to ask you something. Is this an original design to you? Have you seen anything like this in the past? I certainly haven't, at least not until I made this thing. You see, in the creator space, there's this immense amount of pressure to being unique, but by and large, any thought or ideas you and I have ever had in our lifetime are not unique at all. You know, I might make a thing or two here and there that sort of stand out, but generally speaking, they're really built on foundations of joinery, fundamentals of woodworking, as well as design aesthetics of many wonderful women and men before me. For example, I didn't really come up with a miter spline jig, I merely adopted it. And I'm not really Batman, but I am a brown man. And I'm not sure where I'm going with that, but those are facts. The point I'm trying to make is, when you kind of free yourself from the pressures of having to be unique, it's so much more liberating. And when you do, and you pursue something that may not necessarily be unique, chances are it'll be unique anyway, because you are. So what's the point of this little pep talk, and what the hell does it have to do with a kitchen knife holder? A couple of months ago, I was trying to come up with a multi-tiered kitchen knife organizer where I could hold the smaller knives as well as the longer knives in a space-saving, efficient, elegant way that is also very easy to build. I was trying to come up with a design, and I really wanted it to be something that's unique and edgy looking. And after I had put in so much time trying to come up with this design and finally making it, and I do like it a lot, I realized that you can buy the exact same thing, by and large, in Amazon for like 20 bucks. So today we're going to be building the not so unique kitchen knife organizer that is still very elegant, easy to make, and extremely functional. And if you're okay with that, consider hitting that subscribe button and maybe click the like button on this video as well, because this is the kind of stuff that we do on this channel. If you're not okay with it and you're not convinced, watch to the end and see if I can convince you. Alright, let's get started. Alright, so to start out with, you're going to need a piece of wood. And ignore my cracks, okay? Don't look at the cracks, look at the wood. So this is a 8/4 piece of maple. And if you have standard size kitchen cabinets, 18.5 inches should get you there. 19 inches is how much they are typically. You want to give yourself a little bit of wiggle room. And as far as the width goes, really, it could be anything that you want and how much space you've got, but I'm using 5 inches here. The next thing you want to do is find the center, and because this is 5 inches, that's pretty easy. We're just looking for 2.5 inches. And then I'm going to go ahead and strike a line, like so. And then next you want to determine how wide to make the curve, and that's going to depend on your knife and the widest knife that you have. For me, it's 1/8 of an inch, so I'm just going to do 0.1345 just to give it a little bit of wiggle room. Alright, and then I'm going to go ahead and mark a line as well. And then you can kind of determine the spacing that works out best for you. I find that about 0.6 inches in between works out really well, and in this case I might do 0.5. And when it's all said and done, this is what my spacing looks like overall. And at the table saw we can adjust the height, and I'm just going to leave about 1/4 inch of beef on this piece of wood. And then we can go ahead and adjust the fence and adjust it according to the teeth of the blade of the table saw. And the one thing here that I wanted to mention is, it might be a little harder to see, but on one end of the saw blade right here, there's a little bit more space that we can cut off. And the reason for it is because this particular saw blade is a thin curved blade, and it doesn't have the width to be able to cut 0.135. And so what I have with me is a piece of shim that's going to get us there. So I'm going to make the cut on one end of this line, and then I'm going to add the shim in here, and then I'm going to make the next cut, and that's going to give us the width that we're looking for. And all we have left now is to take the cut. And when you're done with your cuts, this is what it should look like. The actual shape of this is really what took me the longest to figure out, but essentially this is 5.5 inches, 5.5 inches, and 5.5 inches. But you know, the slopes are a little different each and every way. This is different from this, and it's a little tricky. But you know, you really have to play with all of the knives that you've got, and the size and the shape that they have, and what shape of this suits that the best. I'm not going to try to reinvent the wheel here, so I'm just going to go ahead and trace the same lines that I've already done to save myself some time. And, well, you can't see it, but it's there. And at the bandsaw, I'm sure you can imagine what's going to happen next. I did mark an X on all of the off-cut section so that we know which side of the pencil line we need to make the cut on. The other thing that I want to advise on is, as you can see, you know, with these little pockets in here, there's really very little support on each of these pieces as the bandsaw is trying to cut them downward. So this is kind of a risky cut, and I really don't recommend that you go all the way through all of the pieces so that, you know, they're not supported. Instead, try to make the cut most of the way through, little bit of a nub, and then you can take them off later by hand or with the handsaw. And this is why I love this bandsaw, because you can really stop the cut anywhere you want, and you can see, you know, this is very unsupported, and you really don't want to be messing with the bandsaw and trying to make a through cut. Instead, much safer to just remove these pieces and then clean that up afterwards. There you go. And of course, it goes without saying, go slow on a cut like this. You really don't want to push it too hard. Okay, so we have the general shape down. This is the most exposed part that's easiest to clean up. Here it's going to be harder to get hand tools into, so we're just going to sand that. But we can just run this through the hand plane for a couple of passes, and that should help get that nice, flat, and straight. And for the rest of it, we're going to use the sander to get as close to flat as possible. And with a little bit of hand sanding to break some of the sharp edges, we can call this project done. Right, so at the beginning of the video I said that if you are not convinced to subscribe to the channel, you should watch to the end and then make that judgment call. For your consideration, I have a piece that looks exactly the same, made out of walnut. As someone who is probably interested in woodworking, I'm sure you can appreciate the beauty and elegance of walnut. But there is one more trick up its sleeve, and that is magnets. So the reason why I decided to make this one out of magnet is twofold. First and foremost is to make this expandable. So in theory, you can take out the side pieces and then you can add as many or subtract as many pieces as you need in the middle section. The second reason is a lot of folks are hesitant to use wooden knife blocks like this or your standard knife block because they don't like the fact that they can't get into the crevices to clean it up. I don't fully understand that, because why are you putting dirty knives in your knife block? But, you know, this does allow the option to take it apart, clean it, and then put it back in, and you're back in business. I just wanted to say, please do not try to make the magnetic knife holder. It is a special pain to make, which is the reason why I didn't focus on making that in this video. Instead, make this. It's simple, it's easy to do, it should only take about 30 to 40 minutes to make, and it's incredibly handy to have around the kitchen. Even if you're not a cook or you're not into cooking, I'm sure your spouse or somebody would appreciate it, or at the least, your kitchen will be more organized. So really, take the time, make one of these. I think you'll be really glad that you did. Well, that's all for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. If you did, please be sure to click the thumbs up button. Consider subscribing to the channel if you're not a subscriber already. Thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate your support, and I will see you on the next one.